screening. All right, so welcome to today's session. As I said earlier on, so today we're just going to talk more about um, what we need to put in our resume, what people want to see, and how best can you project yourself out there? I know we have about 30 something people in here. Please just put on the chat box where you're coming from or where you're joining from, Abuja, Lagos, Ibadan, Calabar, Kano, just so I just have a sense of one who is here. And please get a note, get a pen. We're not going to share the slides, so please make sure you get as much note as you can get, during this presentation. And please use the Q&A button for questions. And trust me, any question I cannot answer, I'm also going to throw it back to the public for you guys to answer the question as well. Or if I do have any advisor in the house that can also help me with those questions, that would be great. All right, so today we're going to focus on academic resume, not the employment part of it. Academic resume, academic CV, what we should focus on, samples, structure, tips on how to revamp. And sometimes I tell people I revamp. Sometimes you don't even have to revamp because you might not even have anything on the CV. Maybe you need to go and build a CV in the first place because if you don't have anything to put in there, then what are we revamping? But we can also revamp for those of you who have so much to put in. We might have to do some revamping, some deleting, some choosing, making which ones are more priority in terms of what we're applying for. So yes, revamp will come for those who have a lot of experience to see how we can do that. Or those of you that blank out, I've just seen a half paragraph resume, a first class student from University of Ilorin sent to me, and I just couldn't wrap my head around how somebody sent me a half page resume as a resume. Oh, I don't have one, but this is what I've put together. I was too applaud. I just could not even believe what I was seeing. And of course, we're going to take questions at the end of the day. All right, so academic resume absolutely is that one page, most of the time 2 pages, documentation that actually just outlines your entire educational background. So without even knowing you, I tell my graduate students, undergrad, I know what your resume for me is what I want to see. I want to know what is your research experience, what's your teaching experience, do you have any kind of publication? I just feel your resume, your CV actually is that I don't even need to see you in person. I should know who Ogenetega is. I should know who Abiola is. I should just be able to tell from that one document how strong or how what your capabilities are. And of course, primarily your resume and your CV is actually used by graduate school to evaluate if you qualify for admission or not, by faculty members to be sure, oh, can this person really be part of my team, or can this person actually will be able to do the work that's it's here that we need to get the work done. So I tell people that your resume is what actually sells you. That's your bragging right. That's your ship. That thing that you're using. I know when I tell people that on the street when you're buying things, sometimes you know that you want to buy that chocolate, but because it's wrapped so well, you just buy it. You might buy it, and at the end of the day, you unwrap that chocolate, and it's the worst chocolate you've eaten in your life. Unfortunately for that person, good luck, So, but there's some you would actually open wrapped well, and what is inside is actually really, really good. But sometimes those resumes are so good, and by the time you bring the person for an interview, and you'll be wondering, oh my God, how did we even bring this person in for an interview in the first place? And that happens. Like last year, I know vividly, I had a graduate student who did 8 interviews and didn't get into any school. And I actually said to her, I said, then there's something wrong in your resume. Because if your resume is so good that you're getting 8 interviews, and at the end of the day, you're not getting any offer, then it's either you're lying on your resume or you cannot defend what is on that resume. Yeah, that's actually what it means. So please put that back of your mind that for everything you're applying for, fellowship, grants, positions, whatever that is, postdoc, grad school, scholarship programs, your resume, your CV is actually what schools would want to see. And please, what makes it stand out? For me, I tell people like I'm looking at the first two items in there, like literally academics, where the layout of the application from where did you graduate from? Is this person's layout, does it make sense? As some resumes, you see the dot here that doing zigzag on the one page, how did you neatly organize yourself for me is actually very important. And yes, those awards, where are they? Some people, you see the award in the fourth page. I'm like, why is your awards, your publication in the very last page? Like everything you want them to see first, that wow should be on your first page as much as you can. I like literally. So very, very, very important. And as you're talking about your research publications, please put in proofs, hyperlinks, let your research papers be cited properly. It's very, very important you put that as on your resume. Very, very important. And of course, we know what a resume is, we know what that means, right? Do we know, before we saw this slide, do we know what that means? So your resume actually needs to be very concise, not 5 pages, 10 pages. And I tell people, like, if at this time you just graduated from the university and you have 6 pages of resume, what would you have when you become a professor? And they all would laugh at when I ask them those questions. But that's actually very true. That is a question I would ask people. So for me, if a school is telling you to submit a resume, that means you need to summarize no matter the achievement. If you have 10 publications, what are the most important five that you want them to see? Those are the things that need to be there. If you have 100 awards, what are the most important awards? So that's when you start um deleting out things from your resume, because you actually outgrow some things. But you can't be in second university and be still bragging about you have 9 A's in secondary school. At that level, it's no longer important. You don't need that. You don't need to be bragging about um those achievements that you have. It's way gone. That things, maybe other degrees have overcome them and they're no longer relevant. So it's for you to put in those key accomplishments, the most important accomplishments. Those are what you should be putting there. Share only the skills that actually matter at this point in time, and not the one that would matter some other time. But at this point in time, what matters? For example, I see people's resume where they put in church activities, and I'm just like, are you for real? That space can be used for something else. Any kind of religious activity, for me, I shouldn't be seeing them in your resume at this point in time. How does that affect your academic pursuit? How does that change a decision in your academic pursuit? But if you tell me about a research skill you have or a publication that you have, that actually changes a lot, in applying to a school in the US or anywhere in the world out there. So structure, typically this should be your structure. They absolutely should have your name, contact information, education. You see, education. Next important thing, awards, honors. Most of the time, I see this award honors in the third page. Work, research, teaching experience right there. Next should be publications. And even this work, research, teaching experience, when you're putting in those little, little things below it, maybe I worked at University of Abuja, not more than 2 to 3 bullet buttons. Some of you put like 10 bullets under that one work. No, summarize your work experience. You need to summarize it at this point in time. It needs to be summarized. Sometimes even 2 bullets outside that is what you need to use to capture the work or your research experience or your teaching experience. The same thing with your publications. Then, of course, if you've attended conferences and presentations, for those of you who have those experiences, you want to share that as well. You know, any relevant skill, very, very important. Professional affiliation, any kind of certification you have, you can put that in. If you still have room for leadership, volunteer, extracurricular activities, you can actually put that in. But I always just tell people that, as soon as I see your name, the thing I'm going through, I'm looking at, even as an advisor, is education awards publication. Like what kind of experience does this person have? What is the person bringing to the table is what I'm looking at as an advisor. So contact information, basically that's who you are. Where are you? Who are you? Where are you staying? Email, phone number, you know, state and country if you want to put that works for me. For me, I feel that your LinkedIn or your Google Scholar site is also a good time to put in right in there. This is not a time for you to start talking about marriage, no marriage, children, no children. I see that a lot. I'm like, let's take a break on that. All right, so this is a very good sample that Mrs. You put together. So you have your contact information header, which is like, for example, we have Ada Okoro. This could be Amza Dalhatu, something here, your name, email address, and your LinkedIn account should be there, that they can easily just click on and see who Ada Okoro is, or who Chioma Uno is. They can easily do that. And of course, you have your contact information, your phone number. If you want to put in your professional email, maybe you have a school email account, that's fine. You can do that. or you're a good scholar, you want them to cite you, please put that. So however you want to format it, let it be simple, let it be straight to the point, on your resume. So people ask a lot of questions about, oh, should I include a professional summary? I always tell people that it's either you get it or you miss it. So if you think you get it, yes, then you can add it to it, like very concise statement to highlight your career goals and that actually fits the particular program that you're going into. But please, I always tell people, for me, this a lot of the time I read this professional summary is always just totally off. Like literally off. So please, if you know you're going to put this, make sure that is apt. Like literally, you nailed the nail in the head. Very, very important. Very, very important. And if you're going to the nail in the head, make sure that whoever that is reading this is going to like, oh wow, yeah, this person just literally did an elevator speech, even while you're not there. They're reading those 2 lines or 3 lines, and you make a lot of sense in it. So this is actually a sample of that, of someone who is into catalysis, synthetic biology, and sustainable energy. And this person gave a 3 line of solution focused PhD chemical engineering student, passionate in XYZ, and via research in this and this. And the person literally, I'm looking at these 3 lines and I'm like, oh, they're chemical engineering student. Yeah, yeah, the person like what the person is passionate about, I can tell from this, and I know the ways the person has gone through this passion through research in X, Y, and Z. I can see that right away. I don't need too much English. I know the good thing about this 3 liner. I tell people, even for someone I used to like I used to tell people that if you give your 5-year-old sister, if you tell your 5-year-old sister where you're going to, your research program, will your 5-year-old understand it? This anybody can read this and understand. But I tell you, some graduate students will write these 3 lines, and even for us who are educated, will have no clue what that person just said because you're using terminologies and your technical languages that actually make no sense to a professional lawyer who might be interviewing you on the day of your interview, or someone, a graduate school coordinator who is just reading, helping to put applications together and just trying to read this resume. So indirectly, what I'm saying is that you have to use as simple English and simple language as possible. So anyone reading it would be able to understand. Like I literally had this conversation with one of my students talking about carbon capturing. I was like, she just kept talking about carbon, this carbon, and like, you know what? In layman's language, what are you talking about? Because I was just looking, I was lost, even as an advisor. And that was when he now went through what carbon capturing means. I'm like, was that just too hard for you to say in the beginning? It wasn't too hard for you to say in the beginning. All right, so for education, it's easy for us to put this together as a poll, the degree you've gotten, name and location of the school that you attended. If you have a CGPA class, for those of us who have good CGPA and a class, we can brag about this here. But I know a lot of students who are not in the first class area, strong 2-1, tend to shy away from this, or especially class rank, for example. How many of us really want to brag about class rank if you're not like in the top 10? And this is a time where you can actually want to use percentile if you think, oh, I'm not second, I'm not third, but if they're counting top 10 people in my class, they will count me and join. So you might decide to use percentile here, maybe like top one position or top 10. But for me, something I would honestly skip if I just know I am not one of those that should be bragging about class rank. I will leave it the way it is and just mind my business and try to project myself beyond class rank. And it's also a good time to talk about project thesis title that you worked on while you were in school. So please put this at the back of your mind as you targeting that section of the education part of your resume. So these are also samples as well. We have the someone who's talking about the MSc food microbiology distinction. You see the percentage this person put. This is actually a very wise person in the sense that I cannot come and tell you, like the person in biochemistry, BSc biology is saying 1 out of 107. Thank God for this person. He can brag about 1 out of 107. But how many of us can brag about 1 out of 107 in our resume? So it's a good time you might want put that as maybe class percentile if that works for you, or totally just remove that and maybe use the MSc style that talks about percentile. Maybe that was your average class grade if your class grades are got that good. And of course, if your class grade are not that wow, for example, you have like a 79. I would not want you to put in your 79 percentile in brackets, in your resume. Like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do, yeah. But no, so that's kind of what it is. But of course, your CGPA is actually very important to put in there. That you cannot run away from it. It is your CGPA. You actually absolutely need to put this. All right, so for those of us in high school, you can put in your high school grades, but honestly, for those of us who are already, you have a bachelor's degree and you have an MSc degree, at this stage at this stage of your life, I would honestly personally don't want to see your anything high school on your resume. For those of us who are high school students who are joining us there, of course, yes, this should this is what this should look like. To be honest, you can have your high school, when you finish school, if you did SAT, class rank, and things like that, you can put that in. But for someone who already has a BSc and MSc, I would definitely not want to say anything high school in your resume at all. Like nothing high school. Thank you. Except maybe you're one of those that had the best WAEC result in the whole of Nigeria. Maybe that's a hype. But honestly, in grad school, it's totally irrelevant. You do not need anything high school when you're talking about when you're going to grad school in the US, except for those of us who are going into college and you just finished high school, then yes, you should have. You can even if you want to put your junior secondary school achievement, you can put that in as well you can break it down to SS 1 to 3 and PS 1 to 3 just to have more flesh to that. And if you did well in your Becker, that's your BECE, you can actually also put all those achievements there as well. All right, honors and awards and honors. For those of us that can showcase, you can actually showcase all your academic and professional recognition, honors that you've received. But these are actually very few people as well. I see this like very, very few people actually get to have academic achievement or honors on their resumes. And for those who have it, good for you. You shine in, you definitely get people's attention and people want to see, oh wow, this person was overall best in the class. I see people also craving a niche for themselves and so overall best female student. I'm like in the department, I'm like, or the best female student. I'm like, okay, the best female student. Okay, what about in the whole department? And sometimes they're not even top 10. And I'm like, wow. And how does this make, I don't know for those who look at it, but for me, those types of categories, I'm just like, were you actually giving those awards? I really want to ask graduates this question. So for those of us who tell you, did they do overall best male student? Or it's just the women that like putting that niche for themselves just to stand out? I don't know, but for me, I just feel if it's an award that is not like proper, like given to you, I don't think you should try to create an award for yourself. All right, list only post high school award. I'm so glad Mrs. D included this in it. Please, even for graduate students, please, only things you've achieved outside secondary school that you should put in there. For those of us in high school, of course, everything you've achieved in high school, put it down. And those of us in high school, please don't put anything in your primary school. Don't come and tell me you're the best graduating student in your primary school before you went to secondary school. I don't want to see that. It's not important in SS3. There's some stage in your, and honestly, there's some stage even in your life you get to that. Even your bachelor's degree self, you'll not be putting it in your resume again. That's literally and it's the truth. It's the honest sincere truth. So, and talking about being concise, those are the things we need to put at the back of our mind. So moving forward, this is also a sample. This person talked about, 2015 Society for Petroleum Engineer. You can put that in there. IEEE Student Enterprise Award. Sometime I might want to know what that is if the meaning is not too long, because I'm saying to myself, what's even IEEE? Maybe I have to Google that. So spelling out some of these awards might actually do help the reader. MTN Foundation, Shell, great, great, great. Then, of course, for the undergraduate students, you're looking at the highlighted in blue, valedictorian in your school, great. You did cowbell, wonderful. Honor rolls in what's all years. Sometimes I even be honor rolls in subject because I've seen some schools that you might not be in honor roll, but in particular subjects, you were actually like leading maybe your math or your physics class for the 3 years that you were in high school. You might also want to throw that in as well. And any other kind of awards, if you're a head boy, please, a very good time to put that here. Head girl, head boy, you can put that as well under leadership. And if there was an award given to you, maybe for best leadership or whatever you got on that, please put those awards in there because I've been to a lot of high school graduation. I see all kinds of award that is being given, and I'm like, oh wow, quite interesting. Like really, really not academic related, but they're just very interesting award. Like most improved students. Trust me, this does not mean this child was failing. And literally, I got an explanation that, oh, this child actually kind of skipped like from 11th position to maybe like a third position in the last semester of the year, of the academic year. That's for them is most improved. Yeah, so you can actually put that in. So depend on your school general award ceremony that you get at the end of the year. But yes, even if it's non-academics, please, if it's an award that was given to you, please put that in there. Now, back to graduate students who are doing publications, please list your most reputable publication. Some of us will tell you that, oh yes, you put in all this publication, Xavier, and I know graduate students who tell me, oh, as soon as I got to the US, I couldn't even brag about the publications that I did in Nigeria. And I always tell them why. They were like, oh my God, those they were terrible. The journal didn't make any sense. Nobody even talks about those kind of publications in the US. I'm like, oh wow. But here for us, we're bragging about even the ones we put online we brag about it, we put in there. So please, as much as we can, I know not a lot of us will have publication in very reputable publications, but if possible, just rank it according to, oh yeah, this publication is higher ranked than this other publication, and this other publication is higher ranked than this other publication. Because I see graduates who actually just publish in non-peer review articles and just put it in there for at least so professors or peers can actually see that at least they put something out there that is readable as much as possible. Just there's a lot of craze about publications these days, and just people are just trying to get anything into into their publication pool, which I would not judge anyone for it, to be very honest. But as much as you can, rank those publications that you know how to rank them. And for me as well, I will also say you should also put the publication in a very reverse chronological order, so maybe preferably the APA style, except is otherwise stated by the school. But most schools wouldn't actually state how your publication should be listed, except you're directly filling out a form, then you can make sure that you should make sure that you're actually filling exactly how they want you to fill in your publication. All right. I would say I like to name, for those of you that you have like maybe three or four public first reader, second reader, yeah, first name, like I'm missing that. But anyway, fourth author, that's what I was trying to. If you're the first author, second, third author, whatever that is, if you can highlight your name and make it a little bit bold or maybe slanted, just to show that, yeah, this is me. If you're not the first author, if you're the second author, but at least I can see A.O. Adebayo or A.O. Ajala, what that is. I know, oh, this is the same person, because most of the time I see those publications and I see a lot of the time the person that is putting it in the resume is actually maybe like the fourth or the third author for that particular publication. So it's actually very important if you alight on him, so it's at least it pops. And of course, please, if there's a clickable link, it's very, very important. For me, even any publication I cannot click and find it, me, I'm only just very wary about it. And they tell me, oh, it was published in my school newspaper. I'm like, your school newspaper, who's going to see that? How does a PI see that? I sometimes I just wonder, really, to be honest. So you can see with this person, we had like the name, like you could see they only have like two authors here, and they cited where this happened, the sixth IIA International Conference for on adaptive science and technology, and the link is right there. And you can see on the second example, we have like four or five, there's like even six people on this publication name. So in this kind of place, you can actually like highlight your name in here so we can actually easily see that. Yeah, Xavier is actually very popular among graduate students. Most graduate students that do publications, I see that publications actually get published from Xavier. All right. And for those of us who undergrads and you don't have any kind of publication, or maybe you think you've done what do you call it, you've done any kind of work or you've done a project, yeah, you can actually just put like an header to see maybe you have projects and you can put on the project that you've done, because I've seen kids who have gone for like all these STEM competitions, and they've had all kinds of projects. It might not be published, but you can describe the projects and put it in there. There's a good time to do that actually. All right, so research is an experience, of course, details on your job internship, relevant experiences is very, very important. I've had a graduate student when I we did a review on why I thought she overall best UNN actually, overall best UNN student. And I looked at her resume and I said to her, like, you don't have any work experience. Everything you have in your resume is just book, award, award. She has all the awards in this world from UNN. Like literally, there's no award. Overall best from the whole school, from faculty, from department, from everything. I think she carted away all the awards, I'm sure, on that graduation day in UNN, So I'm like, you're just too academic. I think you need to go get some work experience to help your resume. And I know she actually did that for a year, and that totally changed everything. Literally went to a research institute in Jos, did that for a year, and by the next day she was applying to school. Like she literally got in everywhere that she was applying to, just trying to emphasize how your work experience or research experience or teaching experience really, really matters to schools that you're applying to. So please state positions that you held, why you did this job, what you accomplished, if there's any kind of research, you have an intention to do more research work or program or your ability and things like that that you did, things that really stood you out during this experience. Please, you should put it out there. I worked with a lot of students, I don't know, from this new private school that are doing a lot of research. One thing top university, yeah, just in the last 2 years, a lot of my graduate students actually have significant research experience from that particular university, being a TA and being an RA in that particular institution. And they've shown strong ability in what they know, like in that research work and how they discharge their duties on a daily basis at that particular institution. So I just need to highlight that because I've just seen great research and teaching experience from that particular institution. Either they went to NYC there or they're like RAs or TA at that particular institution. Fresh graduates that the this private university is actually doing a whole lot in improving their research experience. All right, this is another very good example that Mrs. Yu also put in here. This person is a research assistant, MIT Energy Initiative. And look at just I talked about, like you put in the job, it should not be more than 2 marks, three column or 3 lines of how the job applies to you. So you're a research assistant. What did you do? Application and validation of blah, 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 blah. You worked with professor, da, 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 da. And what's the other thing? Consultancy projects undertaken by electrification planning efforts in 3 continents. That's it. Don't want me telling me, give me 8 bullet points of what you did in the school. I don't want to see, it's too much. Summarize it. Like, and that's what makes all those resume 5, 10 pages for what? So in one page, somebody will tell me all the job they are doing in one particular job. I don't need to see all that. Nobody wants to see all that. You need to summarize your job description for it to make sense. Yeah. And same thing with the teaching experience as well. And this is a very good example as well. Graduate assistantship from so and so and so so and so. Very, very, very specific. Department of Civil Engineering, Federal University of Akure. Right there. Coordinate tutorial on structural analysis. You've put a number of students there. Very, very smart. I call it smart resume. Assist faculty members in grading testing. PAM. Some people now list all the 6 classes. If possible, some people come and list all the 75 names. I'm like, I don't want to see all this, like, reduce it. Conduct bi-weekly lab session. You see, it's very, very summarized. So I can tell, oh, the person did an assistantship, and these are the things the person achieved while being a TA. The same thing applies for work as well. So for the work experience, you need to be able to highlight what you've done. If it's part-time, if it's volunteer work, if it's real formal work, and if it's a personal gig that you did, please put that, according to how you did those job, chronologically, not going back and forth and mixing dates. And I even get confused sometimes. So at what point did you not do this? When you're in school, when you did this, I'm like, just get very confused. But I always tell people that, actually just start from the most recent and just go back. And that really, really helps, to be honest. And of course, list the job title, organization, dates. And of course, for me, I would tell you not more than 3 bullets of responsibility of the work that you've done. Very, very important. We'll put that back of our mind. So this is a very good one. Worked in Shell. Amazing. This person only had 2 bullet points. Makes sense. Like makes so much sense. And you're a high schooler, you're doing your resume. Yes. White Sands. You did White Lands High School. I was going to say White Sands because White Sands is very, very popular. And you were there as a librarian, or you worked as a librarian assistant or whatever that, or your library prefect and you had to do some job, whatever that is, you can actually just put that in there. And if this is also part of, this can also be a graduate student who actually worked at at a high school, and these are the three things you did. So for me, I just always emphasize two to three bulletin, 2 to 3 bullets. Don't let it be more than that on the work experience. And these are like the words. We even have a sheet on this actually. Yeah, I think we have the emails of those who signed up. We had a session, one of professor took this session and actually gave us the PDF format that might actually ask Mr. Linus to send to all of us who signed in today. Yes, so this is an example. You can honestly take a screenshot of this, like describe action words that you can use to describe your work experience, help teach. These are the things you can talk about. Plan, organize, allocate and anticipate and arrange, categorize, classified. Like you could just reuse those English and make it posh and just be articulate. That's the word I would use. Yeah. So, but that's one that you can use as well. That Mrs. You kind of put in here for us to see. Achievements, words that you can use. If you're using the word communication, words that you can use. Administrative words that you can use to create, author, change, conceived, if you're being creative, you can put that. Financial, allocated, analyze, appraise. There's so many words that we can use. And why these words are actually very helpful, just because I know from our point of view, we're just so used, our vocabulary is not so, is not deep. It's actually very shallow, not because we want to be, I brag about the fact that hey, English is not our first language. We'll try, but this is just at least would help you just think beyond using the same words over and over and over again. This is very, very helpful. All right, so for the conference presentation, just helping us build our mind as we're thinking about our resume and putting down things. And sometimes it's actually very difficult because if you don't have this experience, how do you put them in your resume? You've not taught anybody before, you've not had any research, you've not gone to a conference before, then what do you put in there? Nothing. And that for me, before you even start putting your resume together, or as you're putting your resume together, you also need to plan to be building them. So, like in this next 1 year, what do I want to do? And for those of us who are just graduating secondary university, it's also a good time to think about, you know what, do I just want to make money or do I want to build my resume? Because at some time, actually, I know it can be difficult. Honestly, I know that. But for those of us who have extra support, please think about building your resume first and building your resume over making money. Because sometimes, for example, if you're a computer science major, maybe it might be better for you to actually do an internship in Galaxy. Galaxy wouldn't pay me to do the job, but having my Galaxy on my resume or having Andala in my resume would make so much sense than having to go work in this other place. I'm trying to look for an example, and they're paying me so much, but it will not add anything to it will not add any value to my resume. Oh, I know a very good example. I know a graduate student that I'm working with who read microbiology and she's working in the bank. She's working in the bank for the last 3 years, but she doesn't, that banking experience doesn't add anything to everything she's talking about. So she's in a very amazing conundrum to say, okay, do I put in my banking experience? And she, it doesn't really make any sense because she has a lot of these publications that she's done with people. She doesn't have any kind of teaching us and research experience, but she has publications and she's gone for conferences. Any of the leaves that she goes for these conferences and those presentations. But work experience is very banking, and she's not going for anything banking related. But because she needed to get a job to make ends meet. So now that she's doing grad school, it's just a very difficult situation for her of, okay, should I put this in or should I take them out? I'm like, put them in, like put them in. If it was an organization that supported a career, maybe academic background, would that be a better wow? Oh, yes, it'd be a better wow. Will the banking help her in any way? Maybe, and maybe not, depending on who is looking at it. If there's someone else who actually has more work experience, maybe doing the actual research or doing actual teaching assistantship as a PI, I would definitely take that person over you that only have the banking experience. All right, so the same thing here. Please, highlight the conference that you've attended, when you attended it, please put it in there, very, very important. And please also list the conferences in the APA style. Please, very, very important that we do that. And of course, that's the link to the APA style, and I can actually share that in the group when I'm done with this presentation. And we have an example here, an amazing example of a graduate student who attended the third International Annual Symposium of the Biotechnology Society. And put it right in there. The paper the person presented in is right there. The next one is the Futa School of Engineering, da 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 da. The person putting right in there. The date, the attended date, and the year is also listed. Very, very important. There's some of these things that you cannot even lie about, to be very honest. So I always just tell people that there's some things you can lie about because you did not attend none. Like you did not attend, you did not attend. Thank you for coming. You can put them in your resume. All right, so skills. Yeah, and this also one other thing again, graduate students study the struggle with skills, and people just put some random things that are actually very, very interesting, and sometimes I actually crack up looking at them. And let me give you a very good example. Like you're a computer science person, you're telling me skills. I think for me, your skills, if you ask me, is those skills that you have, like are you C++, are you Python, are you what kind of those skills, those tech skills that you have are what you should be putting here. Don't be telling me friendly team builder. Like I don't think for me that's skills you should be putting as a computer science major. The PI want to see what kind of tech skills you have. Very, very important as it relates to your major. Even those of us who are even not in even the tech world these days, they want to see your proficiency in things that you can do. I was talking to somebody very close to me recently, and I said to him, "Oh, you know what? Actually, your tech background really helped you get something, and really, yeah, that kind of helped. As we're looking at the application, looking at everything, knowing the fact that that person had this tech skills for us was just like wow." Plus to this particular candidate. So please, we have to put that back of our mind. And please be very brief. When we're talking about your skills, your relevant skills that you possess, you need to be able to be specific about it and indicate the level of that skill. For example, if you're good in Python, what's that level? How good are you? Are you a beginner? Are you a learner? You're learning machine learning. What is that for you? What level are you? Are you proficient? Put that in as much as you can, those levels. So skills example, yeah, this is what we just talked about, computer skills, design skills, research skills. Oh, talking about research skills, I had a student of mine who interviewed last year and research skills, and she talked about things that she'd done. And one of the questions she got was that what research techniques did she actually use to achieve that? And she told me she totally blanked out. And I'm like, what? I don't get it. You said you did this research, right? You guys did this, all the rats that died in UNN. How did you go through that? What did you use? What did you go through that? And she didn't know what they meant by that. So I said to her, that means you didn't do it. That research that you said you did, it means you did not do it. Because if you did that research that you talked about, you should be able to know what research techniques that was used to achieve that particular result. She actually came out that from that interview really devastated, just saying that, oh my God, she just knew that she blew this thing because she didn't know what they meant by research techniques that she used to get that particular result. And I'm just like in my head, even me as an advisor, when somebody's so devastated, you don't want to add to the onions. Me, it's slap. I want to like, if I could, but I was just like, oh, really? Okay, at least you're learning from that. The next time they ask that kind of question, you'll be able to you'll be able to answer it better. But these are very good example of what skills are. I honestly don't want to see anything like, I'm a team builder. I'm an excellent speaker. Please, I don't saw those things just in your skills example. Your mates are getting better than this. So if you see some people's skills, even you yourself, you say you not go to grad school in the next 2 years, even undergrad self, the kind of skills that undergraduate students are getting these days, and you'll be wondering, wow, at what point I had a boy that got into rice last year, and I was saying to him, sorry, I want like, yeah, I'm sorry. All right, thank you. Sorry, guys, I need to pause a little bit. All right, so yes, so even undergraduate, the kind of skills they get, like I swear to God, this boy that got into rice last year, my colleague can bear me witness. Oh my, if you look at his skill, this is not braggadocio skills. The skills that he really has, like in short, you'll be at what point did he gain all the skills? Like, how did he learn to be so good at all these things, really? And I think for me, really, academically, not wow, but I honestly strongly believe that his skills were one of the things that actually drew him, that brought him into limelight to get into that school off. And so we had to make him do a presentation to our student on how he used his 1 year or his gap year to, because he told us it was his gap year. It was this gap year that he did was when he accumulated all the skills. Like there's just nothing he doesn't do. He does everything in this world. I'm not joking. All right, so things you should avoid. Don't Please do not, yeah, do not add a photo or personal details like your date of birth to your resume. However, I've seen some resumes like those who do like the Europass that they have like a template where your picture has to be there. That's a totally different case. But a standard resume or a CV, please, I don't see a picture in there. And some of you even put pictures, you'll be putting ugly pictures that is not even fine in the first place. You know, even if you want to put picture that will be very pleasing to the eyes, that when they see, they're like, this person is even fine a little bit. So please don't put any picture. I don't want to know if you're married, if you have 3 children. I don't want to see your religion affiliation. I don't want to see anything because it is not necessary in your resume. You don't need to give me all that thing. You don't have to tell me that. I don't want to see them. And please, as much as possible, avoid lies. I call it white lies though. I call it white lies because an exaggeration, graduate student can exaggerate. My God, I don't know if I have other advisors in the house that can bear me witness to graduate student exaggeration. Graduate students can, let me don't use the LIE word. Graduate student can, so please just be as honest as possible. And that's the reason why they call you guys for interview, to be very honest. You actually don't push through for those interview because it's so over exaggerated. So by the time they ask you basic things, because you didn't do it by yourself, you're not able to defend it. You know, please references. I don't want to see any reference. I don't want to see any references on your, except like literally that particular school is even asking for. I know school is going to ask you for it. When you're filling an application form, you can actually put your references in there. You know, please don't put that word reference on available on request. You don't need to put that in there, please. You're filling an application form to schools. They will ask you to submit your list of your recommenders, which you can actually do that. Yeah, all this objective. Please don't include those things in your resume. And honestly, your CV should not be more than 3 pages. And for me, I tell people if it's actually going to be your resume, I tell people honestly, best bet is a page. You can go beyond that page and make it 2 pages. So for me, honestly, if it's more than 2 pages, I'm always wondering like, okay, what have you done? Are you um is it what's are you Bill Gates? What have you done that you're giving me more than 2 to 3 pages resume? Yeah, you can actually put that into two to 3 pages. All right, tips for what can stand you out as much as possible. I tell students that the do's, be very professional. The area, like the font that you should use should be the standard font, Times New Roman Calibri. Your font should be between 11 and 12. I would tell you use 12 as much as possible. And so at least they can see because for anything less than 12, I think I struggle personally to see them. Number your pages, make sure you insert your name on the header for all the if you're going to have multiple pages. As we mentioned earlier, your experience needs to be chronological. Use bullet points as much as possible. Proofread, please, spelling and grammatical errors, remove them out of the way. Very, very important. Please use appropriate tenses. Save your resume with your full name, literally with your full name. Make sure, and I see that graduates actually are good at that. Literally, you guys save your name with your full name, literally, and that's so important. So these are actually very sample of high school resumes that we can see. And anybody that wants to take a screenshot, you can actually do that. And these are very good samples of high school resume. One page, one pager. It cannot be more than one page at the high school level. One pager, putting your skills, extracurricular activities, awards, education. This is just so amazing. Simple and to the dot. So that's a good sample. Graduate school. This is somebody's resume for grad school, 3 pages. Yes, so that's one person's own. You can see that as a good example. For that, you can see especially there's no secondary school, anything, just Ibadan, and of course the presently person at MIT. That's a good example of those of a good resume. And of course, giving reference and examples, the people that we use their resume today, and these are Mrs. U students, and their names are right here. So, and we should actually be happy. These are good examples of people that had amazing resumes, and now we can use them for other people to use. And yes, we do have the Harvard GSA. AS PDF format. I think for me, when people ask me about resumes, that's the what I easily would share to everyone. And I can find that and actually put it on the chat box. If Mr. Linus can actually find that and put it on the chat box for me, that would actually be great. There's actually a PDF that, well, for me, just standard. If you ask me for a sample resume, cover letter, that's what I'm sending to you, to be very honest, to use as a template for your resume.